The Garnet Trust Hour on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5. The Game.
And welcome into the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you on this Thursday morning. Today's special guest from the South Carolina football team, long snapper Hunter Rogers, joining us for today's show. And I got to say, guys, I think he definitely wins best outfit for Garnet Trust Hour, coming in here with the Limbo ball T-shirt on.
Yeah, Hunter, welcome in, man. We're happy to have you. Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed when I walked in was Pete Limbo's smiling face on Hunter's chest over there, man. I guess what was the catalyst for getting the Limbo shirt there, man? You just saw him online and had to have one, or?
Yeah, probably. Let's see. I definitely got it for Christmas from my mom, so that's a cool thing. But I did give her an idea to give it to me because I just thought it was really funny. And, I mean, why not shout him out? So that's why I'm wearing it today.
Yeah, great shirt. We are Pete Limbo stands on this show, so anytime we can shout out Pete Limbo, we're going to do that. But
I can't remember which player we talked about this, or maybe it was on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. We decided if Pete Limbo was not a coach, what does it look like he did for a living? Did we decide on, like, high school science teacher or history teacher?
History teacher.
History teacher.
I could see that, but I would say accounting. I think he would be working in accounting. So.
That's good.
But he talks about history all the time, so I felt like that was like a natural.
Yeah, you're right.
Think about when you're at Spring Valley. Like, if you walked in and there was Pete Limbo, Mr. Limbo, you would be like, and he just started like he was a social studies teacher. Like, that's super. That's it.
Yeah, I could see that, and I could see
definitely
him just,
accounting.
Like, being like, "Oh, we got practice at 4:00 later. I'll see y'all there. Be ready to snap, punt, and kick balls all day, and let's just get to work."
So he would be Coach Limbo, high school like coach, but also social studies teacher.
Yeah,
he's missed his calling.
I mean, I think he's doing pretty well.
He's doing fine, but
Chris.
I feel no, he needs to be able to add like the history teaching element to it.
Do y'all think that Limbo is there's any chance he's listening to your you being on air right now, or no?
Probably not.
No.
He's probably up in like Pennsylvania eating some breakfast somewhere.
doing some recruiting, more than likely, I would think. Well, yeah. So I don't know. We got so many things to get to. We're gonna be thinking about your favorite Limbo story. I'm not gonna put you on the spot right now. Just be thinking about it for later. We'll hit that later on. But I do want to talk about what it's like with someone like Limbo, who is so detail-oriented on a day-to-day basis. And have you had coaches in the past that are similar to Coach Limbo, or has it kind of just been a new experience from the beginning?
This is definitely a new experience. In high school, I mean, we weren't nowhere close to that detail-oriented. And when I got to college, we kind of just relaxed for the most part, but when it was time to go, it was time to go. And then when Limbo came in, it was like a whole new ball game. I mean, we're meeting a lot more than we used to, and we're learning more than just what it takes for me to snap a ball or Mitch to kick a ball, Kai to punt a ball. I can teach every single position on special teams because he wants us to be able to lead the group when we're out there, because these offensive and defensive players are just out there as like a secondary position because they're busy learning a full playbook. But our playbook is the special teams playbooks, and it varies week by week. But for the most part, we gotta be able to help guys that do not know what they're doing when it comes to a certain play on the field. So it is very detail oriented, but it's enough to where we can learn and help others.
One of the things that we always talk about is how like integrated everything is. So like you mentioned like second possession. So like what y'all do at special teams really seems to be able to carry over, right, to defense, to offense. Can you talk about what you've seen as far as that philosophy that Beamer and Coach Limbo have where everything kind of integrates and carries over?
I think for the most part of like the integration part is the drills and practice that are done by Coach Limbo with special teams also relate to blocking outside as a wide receiver or blocking as a tight end, just staying like as in coming downhill, making a tackle, like front up tackle, as a safety. Like all these drills that we do in practice always correlate to what you see from the offensive and defensive positions. So that's like a really good part about how he's teaching. And it gives the guys a chance to want to learn because they know it also will help them on their primary position. So, yep.
I want to kind of get into almost the art and technique of snapping and kind of how you got into it, because I feel like that's one of those positions where it's really taken for granted by most fans. Like, fans aren't sitting there thinking about, oh, I hope this snap is going to be accurate. You know, if you play a football video game, you press a button and the snap is automatic. You don't have to do anything to make the snap happen and be accurate and stuff like that. But you, every single time you're out there, have to make a near perfect snap. So, first of all, how did you get into snapping? Like, was this I imagine you didn't maybe ask for it, maybe you did. How did it sort of play out from the very beginning? How long have you been snapping?
I was probably like 11, 12, playing football in the backyard. We would always have our friends over and play. And I remember just a couple times I would just snap it, like just joking around to my brothers. And I was like, dang, I'm pretty good at this. Like, as a young kid, I'm just like, wow, I'm kind of good. But never did I think I was going to, like, play football. So I was like, whatever. That's pretty cool. And then I get to 10th grade, and I tried out for football to, like, get stronger, like, we'll lift more weights and just, like, prepare my body for more, like, baseball during the springtime. And Coach Bacon over at Spring Valley wanted me to try out for long snapper, and I was like, oh, I remember, like, back in the backyard, I was pretty good. So I ended up trying out, and he's like, wow, that's actually really good. And I kind of just, like, did it as a joke throughout high school until, like, November of my senior year. And, like, November in high school football is, like, the end of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, there's no way of me getting to college now. So he ended up making some phone calls after I told him, like, if I do play football in college, like, I want to go to South Carolina. So he was like, all right, well, I'll call up the coaches and get you, like, on special teams. I was like, all right. But, like, at this point, I still don't know anything about long snapping. Like, kind of just teaching myself, like, through YouTube videos and everything. So as soon as I got to college, I kind of just, like, it's kind of a feel thing almost. So, what else? I would say I taught myself majority of, like, how to snap. And it's when I get to, like, a game, for example, I know from practice to a game, I have to aim differently because you're so amped up during a game that you have to, like, kind of aim, like, differently. I don't, it's too complicated to explain. Like, take me like 10 minutes to explain that. But, since your body's so amped up, you have to, like, slow everything down. And, throughout the game, it's just a feel thing and trying to be perfect with everything.
So it's like your adrenaline has you just so amped up, you almost have to dial it back and control that a little bit in a game scenario.
Yes. One of the biggest things for me is, like, after we score, if you look at me, I don't celebrate. I just, like, all right, it's my turn. And then right after we finish the extra point is when all of us, like, celebrate, because you can't, like, so, like, that kickoff return Xavier Liggett. Yeah. That whole stadium's rocking. Like, I've been to games since I can remember, and the floor, like, the grass was shaking. And I'm just like, I just got to keep my heart rate down because I got to calm my breath. Like, my breathing is, like, the most important part. So after that, that's when we all just went crazy after that extra point. But, like, the touchdown in the bowl game, that was the hardest snap of my life. And I did pretty well on it, but it was kind of shaky snap. But
that is weird. I didn't think about that. Like, you score, and then you have to go snap the ball, like, right after that.
Yep. And I was like, I was so amped up after that, and my heart was racing. I don't know how I should have snapped it over his head if like if I had one, like that was like 1 out of 10 good snaps, and that was the one snap that was good. Because if you give me that snap again, I'm probably.
Is that I want to talk about that play and just special teams. We have a lot of special teams like questions we want to geek out on for sure. But is that harder for you? Like you came here, right? It's always exciting for any player who's on a team to score a touchdown, and then like as a specialist, you have to calm yourself down and go do your job. But like for you, I feel like it's different. You grew up going to games. This was like your dream, like where you wanted to go if you played football. So is it even harder for you to like calm yourself down? Because it's almost like you're a player and a fan at the same time.
Yeah. It was definitely pretty hard to like calm myself down because I think I didn't really realize I scored until like 4 hours after the game because I was just so like, I guess happy. But it kind of just brought me back to like playing like football, like, whenever it was like a noon kick, I'd wake up at like 8 o'clock as like an 8-year-old, go play Sandstorm in the front yard, blaring on speakers, like acting like I'm scoring touchdowns. And then now, like looking back, I'm like, dang, I just like actually did that. But yeah, it was definitely like played a factor in like how amped up I was. But I mean, I controlled myself for the most part.
So you're literally like living the dream of thousands of Gamecock fans who have grown up dreaming of scoring a touchdown or playing in that stadium or running out in 2001. I'm sure the first time you did that was an incredible experience. I want to talk a little bit more about the touchdown. So when y'all draw up a trick play, without like getting into stuff that's going to get you in trouble with Coach Limbo, how many times are y'all practicing that? Like, is that something y'all had worked on in this case, like all season long? You just hadn't run it yet? I know you hear stories about coaches talking about, we've had this trick play in our back pocket. We just didn't get to it. It never popped up. Or was it more like, okay, this is something we're putting in for the bowl game? How did it sort of come about? Did you know that was going to get called on that day, basically?
So we put it in and halfway through, like, Beamer's first season.
Oh, okay.
And, like, so it's kind of a mix of what you were talking about. Like, it was in their back pocket, but at the same time, we had that in for, like, a year and a half. Practiced it about, like, 20, 25 times throughout that year and a half. And one time did I get that ball every time I practiced. Because I was just, like, a dummy on that play. Like, theoretically, if you look at it, I mean, Tonka Hemingway, Tonka's going right down the middle. And that's supposed to be like a little pop pass to him.
So it wasn't supposed to go to you?
No. So the way it kind of went down, without like explaining too much, is we scored that first touchdown, made it 7-0, I think 7-0. And we go to kick the extra point, and Tonka's the wing, so they're like, watch the fake. Like, linebacker's in my ear, like, Tonka, like, it's going to 91. Like, watch him. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I kind of like, I was like, oh, okay. So I snap it, go back to the sideline. Like 5 minutes later, I walk up to Beamer. I'm like, hey, I know y'all want to run this play. If you want to run it, like, tell Kai just to look outside because they're just going to be covering Tonka. And he was like, all right, let's get you a touchdown. And like me, I'm like, what? No way. So we ended up, I ran up to Limbo after that, and I was like, hey, I'll just let you know, like, I told Beamer this. And then he was like, all right, sweet. And then like 10 minutes later, that next drive, he's like, run it. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm like shaking now. And line up. They had one guy over top of me and Mitch. And I'm like, oh gosh. And Mitch is like, dude, we're really running this. Like, in my ear, he's like, no way, we're about to do this right now. And as soon as like snap it and everything, take off, it worked perfectly, just like how we all thought it would. Because I remember I was like, there's no way, like, I actually scored. Because like Coach Beamer was like, let's get you a touchdown. I was like, no, like, just joking around. But when it actually happened, I was like, wow. So yeah,
he called his own number, is what we're like. You
that's
called
pretty much
your own
what it was.
number. then
I take part in calling that play.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, when you we got to hit a break really soon, but one more question before we do about that play, but a little bit more general. So when y'all obviously call fakes and have more muddle huddles than probably any team in the country. Definitely muddle huddles. Y'all have more of them than any team, but y'all call a lot of fakes. Whether it's sideline demeanor of the coaches or even the players, how do y'all not like give away to the other team? Because I remember Urban Meyer said that he would always watch the special teams coach on the other team, and sometimes they could get clues.
Mm-hmm.
Limbo's pretty even kill, but like, how do y'all not give that away?
Being quick about it.
Yep.
And I mean, if you watch us, no matter what, like for punt stuff too, we're always meeting on the sidelines. So even if it's like a regular play, we're still meeting on the sideline. And so when that fake is called, it's almost identical to a normal play almost.
All right, we're going to run to our first timeout, continue our conversation on the other side. Gamecocks long snapper Hunter Rogers here on the Garnet Trust Hour on 107.5 The Game.
It's the Garnet Trust Hour on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
And welcome back into the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Tyler West and Chris along with you. Today's special guest, Gamecocks long snapper Hunter Rogers. In that last segment before the commercial break, we obviously talked about the touchdown, which, of course, is probably your favorite memory of being a Gamecock so far. But you talked about growing up a big Gamecock fan. What was kind of the moment of realization for you, like, wow, I'm really here. I'm really playing for the University of South Carolina?
Definitely freshman year, the COVID year, even though there wasn't that many people in the stands. That first run out of the tunnel to 2001 definitely left some tears in my eyes. Just all that stuff, like all the things I went through as a kid, just listening to Sandstorm, watching the games, even like with baseball, like winning those back-to-back national championships, like just being that big of a fan, and then finding my way onto the team in some sort of role and getting to do that was definitely special. But that was definitely that's when I came to the realization that I'm really here.
What was your favorite game as a kid or memory? You have one that sticks out or a few?
Oh, I've got one. Mm-hmm. The Outback Bowl, I went with my grandparents and my older brother and my cousin Kelly. We sat right below the pirate ship in handicap seats. So we were like, we had golden seats.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's like really around us. We're just like right there up on the concourse. And they make that bad call, and Jadeveon Clowney you could see it perfectly clear, and then made the hit and everything. And DJ Swearinger goes running down towards our end zone, turns around and like crosses his arms at him. And you can see in the video, like in the TV broadcast, like Jadeveon like points and like crosses his arm back at somebody. We watched that whole interaction go down. That was like the coolest thing ever.
Hunter, you've done pretty well for yourself since arriving at South Carolina, man. Have you read your bio before? Have you looked at your official bio on Gamecocks Online?
I read it like 5 months ago.
Well, okay, so we're going to share with the class here. Fourth-year long snapper who handles both long and short snapping assignments. Returning all-SEC performer. Tremendous athlete and student. Won the starting job by being persistent and consistent. Excellent in punt coverage. So,
yes,
Steve Fink did you right on this thing, I feel like. But tremendous athlete. So you were telling us about baseball as well. You've casually mentioned baseball, I think, 4 times since we've come on. So was that also kind of a first love sport for you?
Yeah, that was definitely my first love. And then when COVID year came, COVID killed our senior season. That was definitely hard to go through, especially growing up playing baseball my whole entire life. And then I knew that was my last season. And to have it end, thankfully it was in the Fireflies Stadium because that was kind of cool to like, that's my last game ever.
Yeah.
Being played there. But baseball was definitely my first love. And I would say I was pretty good at it. I mean, I would have been able to go to college for it, so nowhere big time, but definitely loved it that much to want to go to college for it.
So tell us about your skill set. What position did you play? What were your strengths and weaknesses on the diamond?
During high school, I started as a freshman playing shortstop, and then I moved over to third base sophomore year, and then I also pitched and played catcher and all that stuff. And then I would say my strength was like my arm, like how hard I could throw and stuff. Some of my weakness. Let's think about my weakness for a second.
Well, you don't have any. Just
No scouting report.
Yeah, maybe I didn't have a weakness.
We can't go back and verify any of this stuff for your high school baseball
you're
career.
The best
so
no
baseball
weaknesses.
player in Spring Valley history. I'm a little disappointed in myself. I was trying to size him up and guess what position.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was going to say a center fielder, but I do feel like your athletes always end up either in center field or at shortstop.
Yeah,
so
in
that's
college,
kinda,
I was going to play outfielder pitch.
Okay.
Those two.
now, what colleges showed interest in you from a baseball standpoint?
All the JUCOs around, and then College Charleston. I think North Greenville and Upstate, maybe. That's hard. I mean, Winthrop did. I know that. Nowhere like big time, but
Landon Powell's got North Greenville
yeah.
rolling.
Yeah.
And that was when Charleston, is that when, was Monty there at that time?
Holbrook was there.
Holbrook was there. That's right. Yeah.
I played summer.
Yeah, it was a little bit later, yeah.
Son, so
That's
we
right.
had like 21 D1 guys on there. Like we were loaded.
What could you run it up to as a pitcher? You mentioned your arm strength.
Probably like 88, 89, around there. But right now, like if you gave me a solid 2 weeks to practice, I feel like I could get up to like 92. Like I've got like videos. Jack Mahoney was my roommate last year, and we went to the field one time, and I hadn't thrown a baseball in about a year, and I launched one from home plate into like the stands in left field at Founders, so that's pretty cool.
Well, hey, they've had a couple of pitchers get injured. They could use another one.
I might be a little wild. I don't know.
That's all
I
right.
don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, just take a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Get yourself ready.
I was gonna say they might need you to play some third base, man. They've had so many injuries during this last stretch.
Yeah.
I know we were talking off air. You're a big Carolina baseball fan as well. You think they're going to get this thing turned around, man? They've had such a good season, and then the last couple of weeks they're sort of hitting that little. You know, there's times in baseball where it just feels like nothing goes right for you, and it can humble you. I feel like, but you think they're going to get this thing turned around?
I do. I think. I mean, I've played with like Talmadge and Evanstone when we were younger, and I do think I've got a lot of faith in those guys. I mean, everybody goes through like a rough patch, but let's see how they can overcome these difficulties they're facing right now. And as soon as I'm hoping when they get those guys back that they need, that they can just turn it around and make a fight in the postseason.
Any athlete that we have come on here, we always inevitably end up talking about if they like baseball. We always talk about Ethan Petrie. Like we have like an Ethan Petrie spotlight because he's awesome. What do you think of him as a hitter?
I mean, what all can you say about that? That's just kind of crazy. Like that Paul Skeens guy can freaking pump it, and that's a veteran guy on the diamond. And you got Ethan Petrie walks up there first at bat and just hits a nuke off him. I mean, and he's a freshman. I mean, he reminds me of kind of like a Grayson Griner guy, like his size. So hopefully he can keep it up.
You got a pro baseball team, Braves?
Yeah, big Braves guy.
There you go. All right. We're
Like
all
that.
Braves people in here, especially Wes.
You had a front row seat to Nate Atkins' one-handed grab, not the one against Clemson. You, I guess, had a great seat for that one too, but the one in the LSU baseball game.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that snatch?
You just hear a bat, and you're like, wow. And then you see Nate just like, I got this, I got it.
He called it.
And then just one-handed, like, I don't know what was in his other hand, but I think it was his left hand too. Just straight, like, dogged it out and just caught it. I bet it hurt so bad. But he was so proud of himself. I mean, respect to him for that.
All right, more with Hunter Rogers on the Garnet Trust Hour coming up next here on 107.5 The Game.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
And welcome back into the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Tyler, West, and Chris along with you. Today's special guest, Hunter Rogers, the long snapper for the Gamecocks football team. And, you were talking about earlier how difficult it is after a big touchdown, or really any touchdown for that matter, to kind of stay focused on the task at hand of obviously handling the long snap for that extra point. Going back to the Tennessee game, out of those 9 touchdowns scored, which one was the hardest to focus on the extra point after?
That's a tough question. Probably the last one. Because at that point in the game, you're like, dang, we know we won. And you see all, the students, they're already freaking halfway down the stands, ready to go, jump on the field. So I remember, we were just all amped up right there, but that was probably the hardest one right there for sure.
What was the loudest moment this season? Was it the A&M Xavier Legette kickoff return, or was it something in the Tennessee game or other?
Definitely the kickoff return.
Yeah, that was pretty.
That's the loudest I've heard that stadium since maybe, Alabama back in 2019. I was legit the top row, I was in the top row. I guess the side across from the student section where that TV box is up there.
Mm-hmm.
I was legit right under that guy. I was last row. And I remember when Parker ran that fake field goal, the whole stadium started shaking. That was pretty cool. But, yeah, that was the kickoff return this year was definitely the loudest.
To this day, I say that was not a hold.
That was ridiculous.
That was a terrible on the Parker touchdown.
Yeah, plus you got to give it to him. Come on. Give him a break. He's a kicker.
That was such an awesome moment. They got completely deleted from time.
It wasn't like it was Hunter Rogers running it. It was Parker White.
It was Parker. And Parker's a quick guy, though.
No, he is. I was just
faster than
joking.
he's sneaky quick.
He's sneaky fast. There you go.
He's sneaky fast.
He's sneaky fast.
Faster than he looks. All right, so Hunter's going to think this is a dumb question, but from the rest of us, long snapping versus short snapping. I feel like we probably lump those two things together. Oh, he's a snapper, he's a long snapper. We lump them all together. What is the difference, other than just hey, dummy, one's longer than the other, between snapping for a punt and snapping for a field goal? Is there anything as far as the technique and the approach that is different, or is it literally just you're aiming a little bit differently?
The amount of power you put on the snap, I guess, and what else is different about that? Kind of using my arms only for the short snaps, but when it comes to long snaps, you kind of have to incorporate your whole body to get that ball back there as fast as possible. And using your arms for short snaps, because you're focusing on hitting a really certain target. Obviously, on a punt snap, you're trying to hit the target too, but the target is way broader than a short snap.
We had Parker on for a Garnet Trust interview. This is, 2 years ago, I guess. And he was explaining how there's literally a certain amount of rotations on a snap to where you want it to rotate that perfect amount to where it makes it easy for your holder to know exactly even what side of the ball they're going to catch.
Yep.
So how many rotations are you kind of aiming for on a snap? Is there literally a specific number?
From what I've broken down is 3.5, 3.5 for the short snaps. And that all goes back to, I think I heard Parker say it on his interview, how far back we are.
He did talk about that.
The holders, for us, it's 8 yards, which is actually becoming a perfect length for me because if you look back at the film, obviously I wasn't really supposed to start at short snaps last year, but when I got brought into it, I was kind of rusty, or not rusty, but not used to snapping in a game. So obviously it's going to be different than practice, but after getting it down and everything, and this spring, that's one thing us three, Mika and Mitch, really worked on, was just getting those laces out so our op time can be as efficient as possible. And Mitch has the most, even more time to look at the ball and get ready to kick it, I guess. Vision the kick while it's happening.
And with long snapping, you're obviously looking back at your target of where you're snapping it at. And so you're literally facing away from the defender that's right above you. I know you're kind of watching the follow through to a degree, but how quickly are you usually getting your head back up to then defend after the ball's out of your hand?
For me, it's more of when I snap it, I have like a follow through. Like, because if I kind of just like throw my hands back there and try to go up as quickly as possible, I don't really know where the ball's going. But once I finish my follow through, I kind of just like look up. And they can't, like, line up over, like, right over top of me. So usually pre-snap, I'll figure out where they are, like, if they're on one side or the other. If they're on both sides, then, like, I better hope my guards are there to help me. But sometimes they'll, like, stunt people and come across. But that's kind of, like, you kind of see that in the week before in film and stuff.
And that's one of the things I was going to bring up, natural segue. So, Wes read off of your Gamecocks Online bio that you are really good in coverage. I know it helps that you're, more athletic than a lot of long snappers, but how did you get so good, for lack of a better term, at doing that? Going down and covering a punt after you snap the ball.
Coach Limbo has a lot of good drills for us, like dip and drive off of middle linebackers and stuff, and I kind of use my speed as an advantage for that. Against Vanderbilt, they were pressing me hard. They were trying to sit off the ball and wait for me to run it to them. But they got me on the first play, and then the next, 3 punts, I completely dusted the kid. And I turned around after, the second one. I was like, you ain't getting me again. You're not getting me. And I remember against Tennessee, all of this is, technique-based and just kind of, dialing in on dipping and driving off of a defender. And against Tennessee, we had that one punt. And I remember they stunted people from across the line back to a middle linebacker's position during the play. So pre-snap, I'm like, oh, I have a free lane, straight to the returner. But as soon as I snap and look up, I'm like, wait, there might be a guy coming from my right side. Sure enough, dip and drove right off of him, helped out with the tackle and everything. So, once I get that little edge, I'm just taking off, and, you're not going to stop me. So.
What can you put down in a 40?
Oh, I don't know.
You can say anything.
I ran a 4.6 in high school, at a long snapping camp, and all the long snappers were like, what the heck?
I know they've tracked you. Okay, so, all right, no 40. Miles per hour. I know they track you on that.
In the bowl game sophomore year, in the Belk Bowl, I was just kind of being a practice dummy for one of the kickoff things, and I was like, yo, put a catapult on my back. I want to see how fast I can run. So I just, ran straight down the field, hit, 19.96.
That's good.
But I can definitely hit 20.
No, that's still moving.
I mean, if you hit 19.96, I think you can round up to 20.
Yeah.
It's faster
Some
than
people
Chris.
Some people don't call that.
I'm only sneaky fast. So.
Yeah, you're sneaky fast.
All right, so Clemson game. All right, big special teams play. We were talking about Nate earlier. He had his one-handed catch in that game, but also had some other big special teams play. Walk us through that the ball that he punched out at the end there on the punt. You were also obviously involved in that play, but give us your vantage point on that.
I remember poor Drew Sweeney was trying to guard me. I remember I got around him on the edge of him and went to go front up the ball, and the returner just took it straight to my right. And I was like, gosh, I hope people are over there to get him. And sure enough, Nate, I mean, it happens so fast, in the moment, that, next thing you know, I see a ball come out for a split second, and someone's already on top of it. I'm like, wait, that's our guy. And I didn't know what to do. So I'm just standing there for a solid second, just, looking down, wow, that really just happened. And, everybody just started running towards the end zone where the fans were, so I was like...
It's the Garnet Trust Hour on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
And welcome back into the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Tyler, West, and Chris. Today's special guest, Hunter Rogers, long snapper for the Gamecocks football team, along with us for a few more minutes here. All right, we've waited the entire show. It's time to tell some Pete Limbo stories. What is your favorite story of Coach Limbo in your time here?
Be careful here, Hunter. Be very careful.
Yeah, it might have to be kind of blunt about this, or plain. I would say kind of just like him. It's not like a story in general, but him just bringing up a lot of like World War I and II stuff and just all this history. Because we'll be in a meeting like going over some like critical stuff, and next thing you know, I'm in a history lesson. So I kind of enjoy it sometimes because it gets you a break off of football. But there's always moments in our meetings where he's teaching us new things that we think we know about the past, but then we quickly learn way more than we should have. But another thing I like is like in his like lecture slides, he adds like funny pictures to kind of get the team morale better instead of like, oh, this is a boring meeting but you kind of like see these funny pictures during our like PowerPoints, and it kind of makes you laugh, some of the stuff he puts on there.
Doesn't he put movie titles and movie?
Yeah, he'll do like movies of the day and stuff.
Yeah.
Like he made Kai. Oh, this is funny. He made Kai go up and talk about a certain movie, and Kai had to like talk about why he liked it and everything. Because I think it was like based out of Chicago or something.
Just do like book reports, but like movie reports. He's like, Kai, you know about this movie, right? You're from Illinois. Kai's like, he just makes it up.
Yeah, because like I watched it last night because you told me to.
Now, does this
homework.
When he goes up and does his media availabilities, he typically gives like anywhere between like a 6 to 10 minute spiel before he even answers the first question. Does that surprise you at all?
No, and I watch every single one of those if I can. It is so funny how like long he goes compared to like the other coordinators. I think it's just a part of his character. I mean, got to give him credit. Like, I mean, he's letting everybody know what they want to know, maybe, if that's what y'all want to know. But for the most part, I mean, he answers the questions well. He's very methodical about everything, too, when he says it.
Are you like worried when you watch the press conferences? Are you like, oh, is he going to say something bad about me? Does he think I'm doing okay? Or you just, it's just entertainment value for you?
Yeah, it's more like entertainment. Me and my roommates just sitting there laughing along and stuff. I'm like, that's definitely who he is. Like, he definitely talks like that. Just like letting them know.
Now, you told me, this is interesting, so you actually don't have football roommates, right?
Yep.
You kind of just get yourself out of that, but I know you're buddies with some of the baseball guys. You mentioned Jack Mahoney. You're buddies with Boogie Huntley.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all just hung out, right?
Yep.
Getting some time off. And then Kai, obviously you're close with Kai and Mitch, so you guys go and do some golfing, right?
Yep.
Every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
So settle the debate. Who's the best? You can put yourself in there. Stone Blanton and Tanner Bailey, they have their thing, where they each, think that they're their best. Who you got?
The best golfer, it's definitely between Kai and Mitch. I am nowhere close to as good as them. I will gladly say that. Mitch played on a high school team where they won several state championships. And Kai I think he started playing golf freshman year, and he's just worked really hard at it. And now he's like, I think I checked his 18 birdies status yesterday. I think he shot like 15 over, but that's at a course. I don't know if he plays that a lot. It's back in Illinois. But Kai, I've seen Kai shoot like 79. I've seen Mitch shot 80 with me the other day. But Mitch has gone way lower than that. Mitch is probably, right now, Mitch would probably stripe it the best.
Kai's one of those guys, because I know a few of them growing up or even now, he just like is frustrating almost because he's good at everything.
Yeah, and he catches on really quick. That's the bad part. Because, I mean, I would go to the range with him and everything, but, I mean, you'd look over and you're like, how did he get that swing like dialed so fast? I'm over here struggling to hit it straight sometimes.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Kai is that he's always keeping his arm warm on the sideline before there's going to be like a punt. It's like, we're not going to give away a fake because he's going to be warm every single time.
Yeah.
And obviously it's worked because I don't think he has an incomplete pass yet. Thanks to Hunter making that great catch at the back of the end zone. Although he put that ball on a dime. That was a perfect throw.
He was like, I thought I overthrew you at first. And I'm like, what? Wow, it was like perfect throw. Like back shouldered and everything.
He forgot your speed.
Like led me and everything, yeah.
That was a great throw.
I did have to like run a little harder. But.
Guys, I just thought about this. We haven't asked him the most important question. Who his starting five would be.
Oh, yeah.
For
Do you play basketball?
I played church league basketball right there.
There you go.
Are you good?
No, I can jump pretty high and block some shots, but besides that,
He could coach.
I'll be like the assistant coach. I don't know how like schematics of that, but
You'll be the team motivator.
The point is, you're not putting yourself in a starting five.
no, I would put probably Trey Knox. I mean, I hope he's good at basketball. I haven't seen him play basketball yet, but he's just a big guy.
Yeah.
But I've heard Tonka's pretty good.
Yes.
Who else? Who can jump? Maybe Xavier Leggett. Back when Parker was here, I'd put Parker in there.
Really? Okay.
Parker can like windmill and like do some crazy dunks.
I've seen video of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
he told us that.
Yeah.
And then who would I put on the bench? There's got to be like a funny guy that just deserves to be on the bench. Boogie would probably be on the top five. I mean,
Yeah,
starting five.
he has his team. It's like all D tackles.
Yeah.
Scary, very scary team.
Well, all the guys put their position groups. Like
Yeah.
Boogie has a point guard that's like 280, I think. And then, Spencer has a bunch of skill guys. It's kind of
Spencer's nice. You seen his highlight tape from basketball?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I think I watched that in like 10th grade. Like wow.
pretty.
You wouldn't like really expect it.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's got
to
it.
be honest.
Chris insulted him by saying he was a pass first point
He did
guard.
not like that. I think the whole quarterback mentality. Well, if you turn in my defense, you turn on his tape, and like the first several plays are him dishing like these
Yeah.
dimes. So I was like, oh, pass first, quarterback. He's like, nah, I'm score first. Okay. Sorry.
All right, we also always ask final meal. Like, so if you could have, this is the one meal that you could have out of any other. What are we throwing out there?
Probably like a fat steak, like nicely cooked. Just like how you go to Halls and it's really round and like tall.
Yeah.
Like one of those with some butter on top, like just melting perfectly. And then I'd probably get like a baked potato inside with maybe some fries, and then
Doubling up on the
Oh,
starch.
wow.
Nice.
Lots of carbs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Starchy.
I don't like vegetables that much.
Hey,
A lot of people get on me.
I'm with you
Potatoes
on
are
that,
a
man.
vegetable. It counts.
Well, like the greens. Sorry,
Yeah.
greens, not vegetables. But
Yeah,
greens.
potatoes don't count.
I wouldn't be like, I want asparagus on the side. No, that's not me. Maybe I'll take some fruit on the side if you need to give me fruit or something.
That's your meal. You can have but
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
mac and
whatever you want.
cheese.
I would the Hall's mac and cheese. I would love that.
Yeah.
But let's think about a drink. I just take a Coke
Okay. There
to
you go.
keep it
Nothing wrong with
rated,
that.
Rated well.
I like how you thought about a drink. Most people just focus on the food, and Hunter's like, no, you got to have a good drink.
Yeah.
And then final meal.
I think that's a perfect way to wrap up this conversation for today's edition of the Garnet Trust Hour. Hunter, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck this season.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
All right, coming up next, the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on 107.5 The Game.